Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our agenda calls for a public hearing at 7 o'clock for amending the zoning law. We'll hold off after 7. So in the meantime, we'll just proceed. We have some correspondence. Have a letter from Andy Howard concerning the Lifestyle Review Foundation. A letter from Sally Villette concerning what she calls the Thomas Street Alliance, Thomas Road Alliance. A letter from Jeff Ackerman regarding Lifestyle Review Foundation, and let's see, I had one other letter. Oh, okay. From Morgan Bowers regarding County Route 32, 954th County Route 32, which we'll get to in a second. That brings us to public comment section number 1. If there's anyone who would care to address the board on any matter of interest.
I'm Jan Storm, as you know, resident of Chatham Center, fighter for climate. So I'm not exactly sure. So we do have a guest here, yeah. And to me it's I also have maybe just a couple of updates if the board is interested.
Okay.
And I'm not really sure.
Yeah, you'll be in the Environmental Management Council report section. Okay. Which is shortly.
Okay, so but then you had the voting. You're going to hold off on the voting until...
Ordinarily
after.
we do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I have comments about the resolution, I will do it during the main...
You can do it at the same time, right? You can do it at the same time. That would be fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Jim.
You see this thing on here, climate smart resolution. I haven't been as active in participating in town affairs recently, but what I'm seeing going on here has got me very upset. I'm surprised there isn't more people here tonight to talk about this. The climate in our town includes neighborliness, and what's going on here is just absolutely atrocious. I lived here, came here when I was 8 years old, 1948. My wife and I have lived in this town as a married couple for 52 years, raised our children here. My parents are buried in the North Chatham Cemetery. My grandmother's here. What Adam Sloan's neighbors are doing to him with your assistance is immoral.
Just for a second, Jim, I think you're confusing two issues, because climate change is regard to what?
Climate neighborliness is part of the climate of the town of Chatham.
Okay, well we're talking about weather climate, but okay.
Well, I'm talking about weather. Okay. If the weather gets really bad.
Just so you're aware. Okay.
So if the weather gets really bad, what do? We go someplace maybe where it's drier or warmer. Or more pleasant. So I've been here a long time. What Mr. Sloan's neighbors are doing to him, again, is for sure immoral, probably unethical, but it's legal. It's legal. My wife and I don't want to stay here anymore. It's time for us to move on. If this is the climate in the town of Chatham, it's time for us to move on. Because we don't want to be around neighbors that do that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, highway, we have, under reports, we have a highway report. Joe's not with us tonight. One of the issues that's come up, and Sonia's here to speak to this, is a roadway right now, I guess it's a private roadway at 954 County Route 32. We received correspondence on this. Sonia, would you like to come up and
Sure.
join us?
Basically, there's been some confusion on that road. The technical there are three driveways, if you will, off of that private road. My client owns two of those driveways and actually has a separate deed for the road. She's the only person that maintains the road. And the addresses that were given to those three different driveways are 954 Route 32 Stop 1, 954 Route 32 Stop 2, 954 Route 32 Stop 3. And those addresses were assigned by the county 911 system. And so there's been a lot of confusion. The neighbors don't understand that everybody has the number 954, and it's been a little bit of I guess, some tension over, misdirected visitors and things like that. So my client said, well, why don't we let's name the private road, and that will help everybody understand, that first of all, that, now we can have addresses with the road name. 911 sent us to the highway department for that purpose. And so we're requesting permission to, this is a new one for me, so I'm not really sure. I guess 911 can't technically give us the new address until the board gives permission for the private road to be named. My client has thrown out as an idea, Red Hawk Trail for the road name. It's kind of a nice name, I thought. And so we're before you tonight to get permission to name the road so that we can then get 911 involved.
So then who would designate the number of each of the homes?
911.
Okay.
What it is the 911 system, the type of CAD system it has to be a road. When they did the 911 system, every driveway was considered a road. Had 2 or more houses on it, was considered a private road and had a designated name, and then each of those residents would have a number on it. But previous to that, there was no complaint, and in the mapping situation, it got missed because on the end of the driveway at the time, Mr. Seamers had his name on a large sign out there in the mailbox. So most people just reckon he would get the idea, with Mr. Seamer's name, you pull into that driveway and you go back there because you can't see the residents from the road. But there are 3 back there.
He's the predecessor in interest. Now he's no longer there.
Right,
yeah.
And I think that's where it comes, because now that sign and mailbox is now gone.
Right.
And now you only have the 2 mailboxes on either side, and I can understand why. I looked at it again tonight just to double check it.
Yeah. It is confusing.
The name is easy. Once the name is given to the road, then it's really easy for the 911 system to enter the 3 new addresses. It's really easy. They notify the phone company.
We just go back to them with the official name of the road.
Really
And all
easy.
the deeds have to be changed, right?
No, because the deeds don't refer to any addresses.
That's right.
The deed descriptions, are based off of the
Meets and bounds.
meets and bounds.
Yeah, it continues as a private road, and she.
Right.
So
Yes.
what my point is, are there any other ramifications that we should know about?
I can't think of any because it is a private road, so the town is not responsible for plowing or any other maintenance on the road.
This is a public safety issue also, because
I
now
don't think so.
fire, EMS, and police, it's going to be easier to locate that number. Because right now, if they were to come down through there, they're going to miss it.
That's
Unless they know the driveway, and they're
Well,
just
it was very, I mean, we all cracked up in our office because we get a phone call from Tammy, who's on the cell with Joe, and he couldn't find it.
Apparently it's not consecutive to the number.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, it's between, the 954 is between 950 and 952.
Yeah.
Very
That's how I was taught.
I don't know. I mean, I know that the whole road was created and I think pre-zoning.
Probably pre a lot of things.
It
So,
could be, like I said,
it-
naming is gonna be the easiest part.
Yeah. So that's was her idea about a name. If you like that name, if
I have
it
no
could
problem
work.
with that.
I'm happy that they have a name.
Do the other folks all agree on the name?
We have not consulted the other folks on the name. The other folks don't maintain the road,
It's not needed.
so there,
She's
so,
the other one that maintains it.
correct.
No,
But
that's
they
true.
live on it too,
Yeah.
so
There's no road agreement, this was all pre-zoning, so
And the deed's in her name.
the deed's in her name, exactly.
And everybody'd have to change all our letterheads, that's all.
Well, the thing is a lot of them aren't getting mail there either.
Yeah.
Their mail isn't going to the residents, there's no
Oh.
mailboxes or nothing there.
Oh, okay.
It's physically gonna be a physical address. Now, if they decide they want to put a mailbox out there,
Right,
they'd
yeah.
be able to, the number would be okay.
Right,
But right now, if you put the mailbox, you have 3 of them out there, with, and have to have a stop number on each one to identify the separate mailbox.
That's right.
the
This is
issue
the-
didn't come up because of mail, it came up because of deliveries and
Yeah.
visitors and things like that.
Like I said, when Cliff's sign come down, that's really where the confusion came from, because now nobody knows where the drive was anymore.
Right.
You all look for that sign, you need to turn in there.
Right.
It's gone.
Right.
I
So
just-
that's the request, you know, as I said, like, actually, the entire, process was a little, you know,
Yeah.
we just weren't sure how this really worked, but I do know that Joe went out there
Right.
and indicated to us that, that the road met all the specifications of a road,
Mhm.
even under the current zoning,
Right.
even though it was created by
Yeah.
pre-zoning.
What was the name again you were looking for? Red Hawk?
Red Hawk Trail, yes, and I believe she wanted that to be one word, let me just check, because I know, well, Morgan was handling this matter, and
Okay.
I said, is it 2 words or 1 word? Because I think of Red Hawk as a 2 word, but it's in the letter the way she wanted it, so, and I don't have my glasses on, so.
Yes, it's one.
One word, the way she's got it, so that was her idea, was
It'll
one
go
word.
right in the CAD system. And what they do is, at the end of this Red Hawk Trail in there, there'll be a P on the end of the road, on the end of the sign also. And that's just a designation that it's a private road, it's not a county or, a highway.
Oh, that's on the sign
It'll be on the
itself?
sign also,
Yeah,
there's a
it's
P on the
easy
one
going.
side.
Okay.
So the sign will be paid for by the highway department.
Yes. That's the basic.
But any subsequent signs the owner would have to pay for if it were stolen or damaged or.
I don't know the answer to that question.
That one I can't say, I almost think that I think the signage is up to the town, even on your private road.
Regardless of what it, yeah, whether it's private or not.
Do you have a big problem with road signs being stolen?
Some of them.
Really?
Some of them.
Sometimes.
There's
Some of the large signs.
Yeah.
are just-
Yeah, those kinds of
It's costing us $200 a sign to replace it.
Right,
Like
Right.
Park Road.
right.
So we have to decide what the red block would be
Yeah,
covered.
we want.
Yeah.
Brown.
Whether that's,
Will that end up on the scavenger list?
Well, do we want to, looking to have a motion now to go ahead with moving this forward now?
Yeah, we can do that now or hold it to the end of the meeting.
I mean, this way, we should have to sit the whole time.
It would be great if you could make the motion now.
I'd like to make a motion that we name it Red Hawk Trail.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Excellent.
Carried.
Thank you. So this will appear in the minutes, and then I can provide that to the Columbia County 911
Right.
system.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good evening. Good to see you.
We said roll that simple.
Take care.
Recreation, we had a report, code enforcement, we have a report, dog control. Yes. Environmental Management Council, okay, so, Deirdre, would you like to start out since this is your start, and then we'll.
Yes, let me just bring you up to date and let you know that another town has adopted the climate change resolution that we presented last month. That's the town of Pegram. And there's still other towns that are considering it. We also understand that the city of Syracuse has adopted a not exactly the same, but a similar climate change resolution. So we're very happy about that. I also told you that I would provide you with some information from Lou Allstott, who is the person who was behind the climate change, the Cooperstown climate change resolution, on some of the things that are happening in his area as a result of the climate change resolution and the heightened awareness of climate change and the need to switch to green energy. And I have a summary that we provided me, which I'm happy to share with you tonight. I have a copy for everyone. And we also indicated that we would be pleased to talk with anyone from the town council about what is going on in Cooperstown and about the process that they've just been through in evaluating their municipal solar vendor. So there you go. For the rest, I'd like to turn it over to Jan Storm.
Okay, thank you. I would just add to what, kind of in favor of the climate change resolution that you all are considering is that, as Deirdre just said, Akron passed it. And remember what we said last month, that Chris Gibson is developing a resolution in Congress. He's working very, very hard. And in fact, some of us who are also members of the Citizens Climate Lobby Columbia County chapter are actually going to be down meeting with his office next Tuesday. It would be great if we could say that the town of Chatham also passed a resolution, because the discussions within Congress right now, as you can imagine, are very active on climate change especially. I think they're going to be a lot more active now that the Pope has released this comprehensive encyclical. So again, just kind of another reason. The other thing,
Jan, excuse me, I was on Gibson's website, and I didn't find any of the work that he's doing on it. So maybe you want to tell the staff to put it on the website?
well, I don't think I could tell his staff to do it. But it's really, they're really working very, very hard, but it's very hard, as you can probably imagine, to get people who are very, very conservative, or typically Republicans, to publicly acknowledge, the reality of climate change, because of the pressure of their constituencies to not have that acknowledged. And so a lot of the negotiations are kind of behind the scenes, and I think I'm not in on those discussions, but what I hear from other people in our group and people that are closer is that, kind of just don't ruffle any feathers, keep discussions private. I know he's been working very, very hard to get other Republican co-sponsors, and that's been the Congress. That's been a real effort, because we know that Democratic Congress people are probably already on board, but we just have to be very, very sensitive. So that's probably why he's not really broadcasting it at this point. But he's really been working on it, and he's a lead. Actually, we should be proud of him, because he's actually a leader trying to get other Republicans to sign on. The other,
I think you can be quite certain that if once he gets other Republican co-sponsors, that it'll be on his website that it's been endorsed in the Congress.
We hope that's going to happen really soon. Another thing I thought you guys might be interested in, and I'll be very, very quick, two things that are kind of scientific. One of them is Yale University has a huge program in climate change and climate communication. They do a lot of polling. So they have asked a lot of questions across the nation, and they've reported the answers by the nation, by state, by region, and even by county. And so for Columbia County, in case you have any doubts, a majority of citizens in Columbia County believe global warming is happening, 68% of us. More than half, 53%, believe it's caused by human activities. 60 are worried, 60% of us are worried. 69% of us think it's going to harm future generations. And this is good for our guest, who I'll interrupt in just a minute. 81% of those polled in Columbia County think that we should fund research into renewable energy. I think 81% of us think CO2 should be regulated as a pollutant, and 76% of us think that strict CO2 limits should be set for coal plants. So I was really surprised that even in our county we were so, with it. And then finally, when we were talking about the impact of climate change in Columbia County, one of the most important impacts that we experience right here, right now, of course, is the impact of extreme weather, downpours, and the impact that has on infrastructure and transportation and everything. I just wanted to let you know that there has been a new study published in a very well-regarded journal called Nature, Climate Change, actually looked at the historical record from 1950. You might remember I had mentioned for the past 100 years, we've had 74% increase in extreme precipitation. Only since 1950, that study showed that we've had between 51 and 75% increase in days that are in the top 1% of heavy precipitation. That's just in the past, 60 years. So, and dealing with extreme weather and the impacts of climate change is something that the Climate Smart Community Program that is sponsored by New York State, 6 different agencies, helps communities deal with. And so I remember last month, you, Maria, asked, well, so what's the next step? And I think once as a town, we say, climate change is real, and we support any effort at local, state, and federal levels to switch to alternative energy which is going to both mitigate and help us adapt. We should do it well. Robin Williams is here. She is a representative of the state Climate Smart community, and I think she can take, if this is the right time.
Absolutely.
Okay. A few minutes to explain what it is and how it can benefit the community.
Great. Well, I have some handouts. So I'll pass those out, and then I'll give a very brief spiel on what the program is and what it does. You're welcome. So I guess I'll pass them out and start. So as Jan alluded to, the Climate Smart Communities is a state-local partnership. It is the state's response to local climate action. So although it's a state-administered program, what we really do is people like me, Climate Smart Communities coordinators, go out to the public and communities, here you are, and try and learn more about them, what your goals are, and how we can help you advance your goals of your community through adoption of sustainable practices. Okay, great. So it's a very bottom-up approach. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're simply here to help you and help suggest recommendations that might benefit your community. Great.
Was this just a number of communities over in Greene County that were recognized for?
So there's
Carroll and Catskill.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So Cairo, Catskill, Copiague, and Jewett. They're all Climate Smart communities. There are 18 total in the capital region. And the capital region is a definition that was made by the Regional Economic Development Council. So it includes an 8-county stretch kind of on the eastern side of what we know as the capital district, the capital region. So I work under the Capital District Regional Planning Commission for the Climate Smart Communities program in this area. And so what we do is we meet one-on-one with local communities and get to know a little bit more about what they've done and what we can help them achieve in the future moving forward for both climate change adaptation. So what Jan was talking about with some of those violent storms, how can we help you find funding sources for green infrastructure and different things that can help you move forward to help mitigate some of that flooding and some of those extreme weather events. And also, how can we help you plan for climate change mitigation? So how do we help you reduce your energy costs, which will end up saving taxpayer dollars, which is always an attractive feature. So the Climate Smart Communities program, how the community engages with this program is that they have to adopt this 10-point Climate Smart Community Pledge. You mail in the resolution to the DEC, and then you get a welcome package, and you get introduced to your Climate Smart Communities coordinators. We'll set up a one-on-one meeting with you, and then we'll help navigate, what it is that you want to do and what we can help connect you with to get you there. So some of the activities that we've done in the past with the Climate Smart Communities in the Capital District, we worked with, not my firm, but another firm worked with Cairo to help them get that large-scale solar farm that's going to go in to help them, reduce their energy costs. The town of Clifton Park recently got an award for a large-scale solar farm that's supposed to account for 50% of their municipal energy operations budget. We've helped communities conduct greenhouse gas emissions inventories, which helps kind of quantify your total energy usage, so you can start to think about how you can reduce that in the future moving forward. There are different funding opportunities that are now connected to Climate Smart Communities. So the Cleaner Greener Communities program, which is a NYSERDA funded program, looks upon Climate Smart Communities favorably in their funding decisions. So this program is voluntary and flexible, meaning that once you decide to become part of the program, we help you advance your community's goals. No one's going to come and embark at you. It's really up to you what you want to do within the program, and so we're here to help you advance your goals. So it's not legally binding. There's really no repercussions to becoming part of the program. You can do as much as little or as little as you want. Of course, we would love to help you do as much as you want. So that's.
If we adopt this resolution, will we automatically be eligible, or will we go through the process?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you adopt the resolution and become a Climate Smart community, then you have access to a wealth of resources, some of which are available on the DEC website currently for planning, and there are different tools that are on the DEC website that you can use now. But the big carrot is, the funding opportunities that you be looked favorably upon, and also the access to technical assistance, which is, the Climate Smart Communities Coordinator. So us at the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, and that one-on-one assistance and guidance that we could provide for you. So those are kind of the draws of the program, if you will. But there are a host of other benefits, including just having us be there, so there's a facilitation and an exchange of knowledge. So what are other Climate Smart communities doing out there that you could do? And how can we connect you with them so that they can tell you their story and how they accomplish their goals? We have lots of workshops and events that we help coordinate and invite Climate Smart communities to. There's one on July 9th in Albany having to do with electric vehicles and how you can have your fleet be a little more efficient. So once you become part of the program, there's just kind of an opening of different opportunities for you.
Do you go through our community and see where we could change as far as our government property that we own, our town buildings, and see where you could make the changes? You would do like a resource check on that and bring a recommendation back to us.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's something that we've done specifically for the town of Bethlehem. They came up with a green building strategy for them to help look at ways that they can be a little bit more efficient in their building operations, and maybe some policies that they might want to consider moving forward. So that's certainly the kind of activity that we've engaged in.
Is this something, Dave, you'd be working with us with this? Could it be something you'd be helping with?
Well, we would certainly be willing to be a resource, but as you know, my main objective is working at the congressional level with Citizens Climate Lobby at the moment.
Okay.
But,
just so we're clear here, there are two separate resolutions here. Okay.
And they're very much
one that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
For discussion.
Right.
This other agenda.
I apologize.
No, that's okay.
They're very much,
it all adds to the conversation.
right, I was going to say, they're very much in tandem and in concert.
Right.
This is just something that, the DEC kind of crafted and has people adopt so they can kind of keep track. And right now there are 156 climate smart communities across the state. 2 came through this week, which I'm very, very happy about. So it's definitely catching on, and there are definitely a lot of communities moving forward because it's really flexible, it's grassroots, it's not top down, it's really within your own bounds.
So we could actually look at this tonight and just maybe not act on this tonight,
Sure.
but give us another month so we can all review it, check with our attorneys, go through those type of deals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm here, in the meantime, in case you have any questions or need any additional guidance or.
I was lucky enough to get the email earlier, so I was able to look at it
Yeah.
ahead of time.
It's a
So
lot,
that was helpful.
I do have, I recently, left the Department of Health, and when I was there, one of my jobs was to interact with the Climate Smart Community program through the DEC. And what I would also add, what's great about it is that in other regions, climate smart communities get together with each other. And so they learn a lot from each other and they leverage a lot of the different things that they're doing. And Kingston, for example, has a huge, huge program. We don't hear about them too much because they're in mid-Hudson. But and also Yonkers completely replaced, kind of under the Climate Smart Community umbrella, all of their street lights with LEDs and saved, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars on their electricity costs. And we obviously don't have that kind of a burden. Fortunately, but it's really a powerful program.
Right.
Yeah.
I almost see that we need a point person, and I don't know if you'd be interested, Jan, in being that liaison. We'll discuss it next meeting, but a point person representing the board and being the liaison with Robin.
Sure, and that's a model that certainly worked in other communities, that we interact with a volunteer staff or some kind of extra governmental entity, almost a sustainability task force, if you will. So that's something that's worked in the past, and certainly could work in the town of Chatham.
Worthy of discussion.
And whether maybe we'll also think about whether it should be under the umbrella of the Chatham Conservation Advisory Committee. How we structure it.
Sure. Yeah, and those are definitely conversations that if you kind of want to contact me after tonight's meeting and tease out some of these ideas, I'm here to talk about that with you and how you could structure it moving forward. But yeah, there's a host of opportunities here.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Of Robin?
Sure.
So how do you work with other members of the community? For example, one of the things that our town does sometimes, correct me if I'm overstepping, is we have workshop meetings to talk in more detail about issues that the town is considering. Is that how you describe that? I mean, so how do you does this program bring in members of the community?
Absolutely. So, for example, in the town of Clifton Park, we interact with their government staff one-on-one. There's a community development person that was kind of our point person for the program, but there's also a very active community member who's engaged with a program that's called Solar Eyes. And we kind of coordinate our efforts with her so that we can help her kind of be that middle person. And so we really do kind of have a holistic view and try to include everyone. For another example is the city of Saratoga. Their kind of sustainability task force, their climate smart communities point board, I guess if you will, is a volunteer task force. So it's community based entirely. And they have kind of the same structure where they advise the government on things that they think have merit, and then they kind of work in tandem. So that's something that we definitely support.
Okay. Anybody have any further discussions or questions for Robin? And we do plan on addressing the climate change resolution.
I'd like to move that.
Would you like to do that now? Okay. All right. It's fine by me.
Which one are you talking
No,
about?
this climate smart community
That'll
will be next month. It comes back next month. We're talking about.
Smart enough yet.
We're talking about the resolution. This is actually a model resolution that includes the town of Hillsdale, but we'll
Don't we have that?
We can use this, but,
I thought we had one that said Chatham.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we do.
well,
Oh, you did?
It's the next page.
oh, okay, it's the
Oh.
second page, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just gonna be repeated in
I can read
a
it.
minute, so.
Okay.
Cal, were you good with this?
From a legal standpoint, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, there's some political statements in there that some people may or may not take issue with, but as far as the legal documents, there's nothing objectionable about it.
Well, Maria's made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Henry's second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries, so.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
One down, one to go.
So,
That really
this
is
is
huge.
ordinarily our standard practice. We'll bring this back next month and whatever questions develop in the meantime or whatever.
Sure, and if you'd like me to come back next month,
Okay.
I'd be
Could
happy to
very
do
well,
so.
could
Sure.
very well be, yeah. I'll be in touch, so.
I'll plan on it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you have a card?
Yeah.
You're-
Board allow me to send an email to Representative Gibson's staff to let them know that the town of
Should
Chatham
we
has
adopt this?
adopted?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they'd be very happy
Yeah.
for that.
No, that would be great.
Right, we got some press out of it.
It'll make the town look good.
Yeah.
Okay, you folks all set? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to coming back.
Okay, we now have an assessor's report, zoning implementation committee. Chairman?
Well, we met on the 3rd. We actually started discussing some mapping changes, where RL2 were changed to some RL1s, and some RL1s were changed to RL2s. We had 7 areas that we had questions that are going to go back to Mr. Melton. And we started the special use standards. And this past meeting that we had yesterday, we just about completely went through. There's a few we have to go discuss with Tal. And then we also started on the new general standards. We got partway through that also last night.
So you were very impressed.
So we did. Yeah, it was a very good meeting. And like I said, at the next meeting, we'll continue on. I think what we did is, in our minutes, we hadn't talked to Sal about it yet, but we're looking to go backwards a little bit. We've actually put a bunch of little things off, and we're looking to try to maybe get caught up on some of the things that we put off. Just something we're looking to do forward. So if we keep going where we are, you're going to have a lot of stuff piled up. So we figured we're going to see if you could get some of that done, and we can pass it, move it along, and get going with it, so we're not backlogging you. So that's what we're looking to do at the next meeting.
We're pretty well caught up. I mean, the 2 primary areas that I need to focus on just a few hours worth will be the special use standards and especially the steep slope.
And we did have some questions on some of them last night. We marked them, and Jeff Lip took minutes for us. I don't know if he forwarded it to you already. I think he's gonna try to get them typed up and sent to you. So once you get those minutes, we're good.
That's the most tedious part, is keeping them in minutes.
So and it's harder when trying to keep the minutes and have a discussion at the same time.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
That's why I had Jeff do it, not me.
Yeah.
So, but when go, like I said, we're moving along, and that's posted.
From my end, county business, the one thing I wanted to bring forward to the board was there's been a lot of talk about the Columbia Economic Development Corporation, and Ken Flood has resigned as executive director of the CEDC, which I thought all along would be a good thing. There's continuing discussion whether the Board of Supervisors will continue to fund CEDC, but that will be not only an immediate board conversation, but it'll be also a budget discussion going forward. So that's going on 2 levels.
Where does that leave our broadband?
That has nothing to do with it.
Okay, so
No.
there's a separate committee on the supervisory level?
Totally different.
Because
Yeah.
as a town, we
Ken
can
runs,
use him.
right, Ken runs planning and economic development and whatnot from the county end. The problem was he was wearing 2 hats, and the second hat was as chairman of CEDC, or as director of CEDC. And to try to do both jobs, oftentimes they were at odds, and other times it was just too much. It really probably should never have happened. And he just had too much on his plate. So to divide it I was trying to split the baby half the time, and that wasn't a good result. So CDC actually is doing some reorganizing internally, and not sure what that's amounting to, but at least some positive changes seem to be happening here. So, I think overall CDC's done a good job in terms of funding loans for people who probably needed them. A little more oversight probably would have been handy, but I think there's more attention on it, being given to it now, and that's important. It's a big chunk of change that the county's been providing them. So we've had some good conversations, and there'll be more. There was supposed to be another meeting the other day. It got canceled for lack of a quorum, but there will be others. So we'll await further developments, but I think we've got a good start by having CED sort of separate itself from the board itself. Town comptroller, we had a report, thanks to our deputy accountant. Town clerk?
I had a question on that.
Yeah.
Ray had sent us a copy of the accounts payable.
Right.
Do we have to vote on that since he's not fulfilling the position of controller?
Well, right now, I think our deputy, if I'm not mistaken, our deputy accountant's working under that, not under the title, but under that office.
That's the comptroller?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this would still be in her position that she previously occupied. So in this case, no, I think, if we were to go to an accountant, yeah, definitely. That would be part of that. Henry's going to talk to that in a minute. So in this case, I thought about it just long enough to not even think I had to ask you, but it didn't seem as though that was.
You're all here, you can make the motion to approve.
Yeah, we can do it, right.
It doesn't hurt to have that sort of roots.
And as usual, I looked at them, and it looked like, the same stuff, so I'd be comfortable moving that we do that, if the board was comfortable with doing that. Moved that we approve the accounts payable. So I'm moving that we do that, so, yeah.
Seems like the right thing to do.
You're moving that.
We pay the bills as outlined in Ray Bruce's accounts payable report. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We have to fine tune that bit again. Henry can speak to that in a minute. Town clerk?
I'm still writing. Hold on a second.
I didn't think of it, doesn't tell me about it, I know. 'Cause
It gets, and there's no,
trying to, looking, doing all this and doing that.
right. Town clerk, taxes.
That would be you.
That would be me. The tax rolls were turned over to the county on June 8th. I wait to get a final report. They tell me what I owe them, the remaining balance. Their numbers and my numbers will jive, and I write them a check, and the rest goes to the town, which includes interest and penalties at about $15,000. So it's almost an average. We go between $14,000 and $15,000 every year in interest and penalties. So I've been busy. I was away for a couple of days last week, so I'm doing catch up. Which is the reason there are no minutes for you to approve for tonight's meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I will have minutes out tomorrow.
Citizen Finance Committee. Henry, I guess you guys have been doing some work on our
Yes, we met on
controller accountant situation.
Yeah, we met Monday night, myself and Bob and Jeff Cook, Ian Kerr, and David Laveau. Had a pretty productive meeting. We looked at the duties that Tammy was performing, we looked at the duties that the controller's office is doing, and then through some information that Maria had sent through us, we were looking at some accounting firms and the numbers. I guess the bottom line is we come up with the feeling that we could save roughly $30,000 by going to an outside accountant, having somebody do our payroll outside, and having a point person here within the town. So we're, like I said, it's like a $30,000 savings, and it was our recommendation that we not fill the controller's position, but actually go out and solicit for an accounting firm to do that, and to see if the accounting firm can also do payroll services. If not, then solicit for payroll services. And then we would need a point person here to basically collect the information, do some entries, and then send everything to the accountant, and then receive things to the accountant also, receive back.
Where does that leave us with our comptroller law?
Well, I'd have to take a look at that, but we may have to repeal that position. And if we do that, then the CFO responsibility is to refer back to the supervisor for preparing the monthly reports.
So all that, when we hire an accountant, it comes back under.
Well, if you don't fill the comptroller, somebody's got to do those things.
Right.
And it generally falls to, well, not generally, it falls to either the comptroller or the CFO, and the CFO is the supervisor.
So then you could potentially politicize the position again.
Good.
Just making.
Right. We looked at that. We were hoping to just not dissolve the controller's position. So, because we're looking to do the accountant position, our thought was for 1 year to make sure it's going to work, and it's going to work for the town, and it's just going to be the best thing. And if not, then we could just go back to the controller's type of position and just continue that. So that's why we were looking not to dissolve the position, but just not fill the position. We didn't know if that would be.
And that's possible. I mean, this is the first I've heard, this potential angle, so I have to take a look and see. But like I said, we'd still need somebody to do those monthly reports, and especially, the year-end report.
And that's something that we were looking for the accountant's office to do for us, would be one of their duties. What we did is we have several sheets that outlined what the controller's position, what they were doing, and also what Tammy was doing for us. Along with the reports, taxes, deposits, the payrolls, the vouchers, the bank transfers, all our health insurance, retirement insurance, and everything and the controller's end. So we're really looking to try to combine it all into one. Outside accounting could do that, with possibly the exception of the payroll. And like I said, we figured it could be, if it go through, we could do like a $30,000 savings. Roughly the number we're looking at. It could be a little less. So what we were looking to do is we were looking to have a letter with these duties put in it, and then solicit for this accountant and payroll services. And then when those applications come back to the town, we would like the town then to forward those to the finance committee. We would interview all the applicants, set up dates to interview them, have them come in, make sure that they're understanding what we're looking for, what we want to do, and it's going to fit us. And then after doing that, we would try to whittle it down to hopefully 2 candidates, and then try to bring those 2 candidates back to the town board to make a final decision on hiring an accountant. Is the process we were looking at doing. Did I miss anything there, Bob?
No, we'd have to do an RFP.
Right.
And, the specifications in that spell it out pretty carefully. But Maria had done just asked a couple of the local accounting firms, what do you do for municipalities? And what they sent back did take care of like the annual update document.
Sure.
They did a lot of reporting back to the municipality, and now part of we did discuss, Jesse, the whole gamut. I mean, the whole political ramifications of it, but by the end, it was a unanimous agreement that we should at least try this for a year. And one of the things that I think everybody liked was that although you have an in-house person doing some of the nuts and bolts, that has to happen. You've got an outside person, a neutral basically, keeping an eye on things.
And it could be like the principal, if we're not doing something we should do, it's easier for this outside person to come in and scold us, you need to do this. Sometimes to scold each other is a little bit harder, it's hard to do that. But by having this outside person, it would be much easier for him to say, hey, you're not doing this, you need to do this way and do it in this time frame. So we thought that would also be a...
And we might be able to save on software, because we're not sure about that, but I mean...
There might be some update to the software so that we're compatible with whatever accounting service we work, but we don't feel that it would be in the area of the $20,000 that we had figured on the newest software we're going to use for the controller's office. So that savings we didn't really include in that 30. That's another savings that could occur. We didn't spend it, so I really can't say it's a saving. We never did spend it, but we were looking at that. So,
do you think it would be wise to bring it under, can they be appointed to the comptroller position?
It's possible.
I'm just really
I don't know
reluctant.
whether they want that, but yeah, it's possible. I mean, all of it is logistically feasible. It's just a matter of doing it correctly.
Right. Oh, that's your job.
I just think
And like I said, I don't want to.
I just think
The first thing that pops into my head is I don't want to have a comptroller position that we don't fill, and then we get in trouble because we've got a comptroller that we don't have to.
We just weren't sure how that works. So, okay. So if we can't do that, then we would have to. Could we first hire the accountant so that we're not having a loss of all of a sudden trying to dump everything on Jesse for 1 month when we're doing the transition? Yeah. Is it possible to leave it the way it is and then hire an accountant, payroll service, and then make the motion to do away with the controller's position?
Yes.
Take our time.
Yeah. You do it so you have overlapping pieces and you don't end up with the donut hole.
I will give these to you if that'll help with the RFP that you want to do. This is what we have for a list of duties.
Okay. I actually did an RFP format, I think, either here or Austerlitz, a couple of years ago. I think maybe it was Austerlitz.
Well, I'll leave this for you just to review and see if there's anything you want to add to it.
Dave LaVaz did send us, because he was involved in the school district stuff. He sent us the RFPs they did. I don't know if you want to see, if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a printout?
Yeah, I printed it.
The less wheel that we have to create.
Yep. One is
No
independent
sense
audio.
redoing it.
Maybe they're both the same. I want to get extra paper towel.
And he did tell us with this
It burns.
cruiser, and the school district was still happy with his work, that it was just, after 10 years, they were just looking for a change. A change of people, a change of, so it's a new idea. So, but they were very happy with his services. It was not the reason for the change.
Who is this?
The Chatham School District had Mr. Cruiser, who was in this, did it for them for almost 10 years. And now he's the one that's helping us out right now.
Right. Well, it sounds like you did a very constructive meeting, and
I'll tell you, the finance committee, it's been it's a pleasure to sit there and work with and talk with. Don't you agree, Bob? But just, it's...
Yeah, a lot of it is extraneous stuff to
I
that.
like the idea that,
But
Try it
it's
out.
also,
see if Jesse
It's
is
part of the
agreeable with him, if
Right.
he's
It'll be
comfortable with
useful.
it.
Good.
Yeah, I just...
maybe we can get it in electronic format too.
Oh, I can. Oh, sure. If it,
Maybe Bob will write it for you?
There's an idea.
It's not. It's worth a try. So I think that's the end of our road.
as I used to say, I was Bob Belton, L-A-L. And they say, what's that? Like a lawyer.
Like
That wasn't a lawyer.
That's what we're doing now, yeah. Okay, now that we've gotten through the reports and Cal has appeared, we'll open our public hearing on amending the zoning law to expand rural lands to RL2 zone. How would you like to once again explain what?
Sure. Yep, let me go through the history of it. Back in, I think it was February or March, the Mitchison boys approached the town board and asked, they had an issue. They own 20 acres of land up the end of Bashford Road, right near the thruway, and they want to subdivide it, but because of the contour of the land and the way everything is situated, it's impossible to have two 10-acre parcels. It's in an RL1 zone, which requires 10-acre parcels. They could subdivide it into a 5 and a 15, so that they would each be able to place their own home on their own parcel. And so they were looking for a way out of that logjam. And in fact, they could legally right now, with the way our zoning is written, build 2 houses on that parcel because we allow 2 primary residents on 1 parcel. But neither one of them then would actually own their entire home. We went around trying to find a bunch of different ways to fix it, you know, go to ZBA for variance. That didn't work because it was just too much of a variance. And then looking at the zoning map, we find that their parcel actually abuts the RL2 district. They're right on the edge, you know, RL1 where they are, RL2 is right there, right on their property line. And in looking at the conceptual maps that have been recommended by the comprehensive plan for the way that our zoning districts would be drawn or could be drawn in the future, and talking about it with the zoning implementation committee and the way that they are proceeding, those maps will probably be recommended to this board as being accepted. And in those maps, their parcel would be moved into the RL2 zone so that they could do 5-acre parcels. And so to hopefully help them fulfill the American dream of being able to own their own home on their own piece of land, we would move their 1 parcel from an RL1 designation into an RL2. And that's what this law does. We do have a precedent in the past. 2 or 3 times we've opened up our zoning law and made minor changes like this, moving parcels from one district to another that are adjoining. And it's because it makes good planning and it makes sense, especially because they are adjacent to those other parcels or other districts.
And we've heard no objection from surrounding neighbors or anything?
Nothing, no. We've done all the notifications. The county planning board had no issue with it. We've sent it out to all of the surrounding municipalities as we're required to.
We don't have to do a secret review on these changes.
Yes, you do. And I brought in short form, actually.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay, then we'll open the floor. Jim?
I'm a fairly close neighbor, not a next door neighbor, but they're going to be good neighbors. They're going to be good neighbors. You should.
Or you'll call their father, huh?
No, I call their grandmother.
Of course.
I know their mother, so.
All right. Anyone else?
This just changes that
Yes.
law, that,
Just
One
one
specific, yeah.
you can, what does that call, I mean, just to change the one,
From an RL1 to an RL2 zone.
so it's like an exception for that?
Just an amendment.
We're
Just a amend, oh,
We're
okay.
moving the map just a little bit north.
Extending the boundary of the one zone into the relabeling.
The pollen has completely covered the brains, that's a
It's my throat today.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll close the hearing. We'll be with you in a minute, we don't have that much here.
Now, in closing the hearing, do we need to review the secret with you, or is that?
Before you vote, we should.
Yes,
Okay.
So when you're ready for that.
Let her rip.
Okay, so electronics recycling, we'll wait till Joe's here. It'll be next month. We want to have a discussion on that.
Is it closed at the
As of
moment?
right
Yes,
now. Right.
absolutely.
Okay,
Right,
so
so
I
we
just
need
want to
to-
make sure I'm telling people.
Yeah, so we need to have a chat about that. Perhaps we can have our friend Robin speak with that. Who's back next month.
Maybe.
Under old business, we talked about peddler's permit, and I guess at this point, if we're interested in going forward, we would schedule a public hearing. If we weren't interested,
Last month you asked me to take a look at that and just get something simple, not do even like Colony or Bethlehem or probably even Greenville for that matter. Greenville was probably the closest example we had, but even that was kind of redundant when we were overboard. So I pared it down and sent that to you last week to take a look.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Tri-Village Fire Company comes around and sells tickets for their steak roast every year. Would they have to get a peddler's permit?
On this one, yes. If you wanted to give an exception to those not-for-profits or others, you can do that.
Well, and then the second question has to do with religious organizations that are proselytizing and political campaigning. So I almost, my feeling is those three categories really should be exempt.
We can build that in. That's a component in others. I just dropped it because it seemed to sort of overcomplicate things. To start having exceptions to things, if you just made it a blanket, then it's easy. But it's easy to build that back in. It's a matter of adding back in a couple of definitions and a couple of sections that create and show how to implement the exception.
Yeah, I don't think we're not trying to be owners to organizations and other things.
Yeah,
so,
that's easy.
yeah.
Oh, I don't think we need that.
It's just overkill. What we're talking about are people doing driveways and roofs and
Really protecting the citizenry from
Right.
scams.
yeah. So,
Just providing a law.
all right. So you want to take another shot at that one?
Yep, I can add that back in. Shoot it back out there.
All right. So July. So. Okay, and get on the road business is amending the zoning law. So at this point, I would just move that we amend the zoning laws as written.
Yeah, we need to do this.
Oh, we need to do that before the resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Well, there are two parts, obviously. The first part is just identifying the project itself, and I went through the first page and a half of that, and it's just identifying that it is an amendment to our zoning law, modifying the RL district. And so I filled it up and filled it in already, so if anybody objects, I'm just going to read it the way it is, but it's pretty straightforward. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the quality or character of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No, there's not even one around here that I think this one's done pretty important. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect the existing infrastructure for mass transit, hiking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public/private water supplies? No. Or public/private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the quality or character of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, etc.? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. And so the next thing would be to have a motion to approve a negative declaration, which means that you're making a determination that there will not be any, to your knowledge, substantial environmental negative impacts.
So
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir.
Seven here. So I got pizza on my tie.
Nice work.
So I got my motion on the cup,
That's why
too.
for eating and driving.
Yeah, you had the right color on.
Did you get toothpaste too? Because I have toothpaste.
Should bring some. Now you can vote.
Okay, now I move that we amend the,
I will second that.
okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, anyone have anything else under old or new business?
I do. The White Mills Road bridge sign, you got an email with that the sign was in, and there was something to be posted, what was the venture?
Oh, okay, for land trip.
Right.
We need to go. So,
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I couldn't hear you.
the Lanfear's crossing sign for the White Mills Road Bridge, so let me come up with some dates and I'll throw them around so we can we'll see whoever wants to come and make sure, the Lanfears, whoever wants to come. So we'll schedule it.
What are you scheduling?
No, I'm just, you don't need.
You're just talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. It was on the list, it was like,
Are you gonna have a plaque or something?
we already did it. We have all that, yeah. That, we have the hard part, well, actually, scheduling's no, we'll make that happen. Anyone else?
Just, I noticed we also had some correspondence going back and forth on East Chatham Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things that went out to Senator Marshall.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then I think Chris, there was also a possibility of some money out there through Chris.
yeah,
Gibson's
which I
office.
mentioned last month, so, yeah, I had spoken with Chris's office. They're looking into federal funding to see about getting money for streetlights, which is the same thing that they wanted to talk to Kathy's office about. So.
I guess what drew my attention to the whole thing is I was told that there was actually an accident. There was somebody who backed the vehicle out on 295.
Right.
That's the first I'd heard that. I had not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me
if
too.
the police were called or I don't believe anybody.
Yeah, that was a new one to me too, and I hope to ask Joe.
When is Joe planning to make those modifications, temporary modifications?
As soon as it gets approved from DOT.
Was that what we?
So
I thought
That's kind of weird.
Can that letter be sent so that maybe it would give it some impetus to get it?
It could be sent, yeah, I'm sure. I'm
think
not
that's
sure where they are in the process, because I knew they had the day applied.
I think this is exactly why we wanted that done so fast, so this wouldn't happen. So I think that's a great idea to give them a quick kick in the ass to let them know we've already had an accident.
We'll try to speed DOT up, yeah.
I get 2 to 3 communications weekly.
Oh, yeah.
Now. I mean, from different people.
From various stories.
Some nasty stuff's going on too.
Now, another thing that was brought up is if we were to put a streetlight in and we did get funding from Chris Gibson's office, that funding isn't going to be long-term funding. It's going to be funding basically for the installation. You're still going to have ongoing costs. Now, do we make a lighting district for that type of thing?
Are you talking about one streetlight?
No, I'm talking 2 streetlights.
Actually, it's not the street. I'm talking about the stops, traffic lights.
Oh, traffic lights, not a street
No,
light.
I meant the traffic
Oh,
lights.
okay.
No, actually,
Okay.
that would be a highway expense to us.
Okay.
There would be no.
Do we have an idea what the cost would be
I don't.
to operate yearly, having the lights in place?
Have to get a number on that.
Okay. It was just something we have to, the reason I'm bringing it up is I know we're looking to, in a very short period of time, start going into budget talks.
Mhm.
This would be one of the things we were looking for would be that cost. If we're going to have something like that, a way to help them there.
No,
That's all.
for sure.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anyone else?
I sent an email, we were at the ZIC meeting last night. We were talking about sound, and the question came up of if the music is too loud, who does somebody call? Just to put it out to think about.
We talked about that last month's meeting.
Yes, you did, you brought it up and then.
And so it's just something that we need to really think about how we can